Thanks for talking to us today. If you could just give us a quick intro to who you are and what you do.
My name's Alicia Navarro, and I'm the CEO and co-founder at Skimlinks. Skimlinks helps publishers monetize their commerce-related content, and then we use that data in interesting ways to help retailers be able to reach customers.
Brilliant. And during your talk, you talked a lot about how your roles evolved in the company as you kind of scaled and brought on new staff. I mean, how essential do you think that is as a company grows from that initial sort of startup phase?
I think that it's important in the early days that the founder at some stage does every role. It gives them a really good sense of their business, their team, what's required. I think it helps with the hiring process if you've done a role yourself. But after a while, that doesn't scale, and the potential success of a company is going to be hampered significantly if you're the bottleneck that stops everything getting done efficiently. So eventually, you do need to hire people that you can delegate aspects of your role to, and it's important that you hire really good people so that you truly can delegate and step back from that particular function. But that can often be a challenge if the founder is very passionate or very good at a particular function.
Okay, and then picking up a function in your business, I mean, you talked a lot about product management. I wonder if you could go into that in a bit of to give a bit of detail and sort of to flesh out that example.
Um, so my background is in product management. Before I started Skimlinks, I was a professional product manager for a long time, and it's a job that I really love, and I think I'm reasonably good at. And so it made it very difficult to be able to delegate that function because I ultimately thought that it needed my involvement and it needed my direction, and so I hired really great people, but that were um, more focused, I guess, on the project management of it rather than necessarily the commercial leaders of a particular project. And it meant that it was difficult to step back, and that it wasn't as, the team were probably not as motivated as they may have been in a different scenario. And so we've evolved the function a lot to instead hire very senior, experienced, commercially strong innovators into the role and we've structured the team so that there are less levels of management between me and product, but there's sufficient distance and a sufficient meeting ecosystem around it that means that I'm able to step back but dip in when appropriate to provide the steering and input that's required. And that kind of change has made a massive difference to the way the product is run at Skimlinks.
Right, and on a personal level, I mean, how have you found that?
How I found stepping back, I think that I mean, it's always hard. My instinct is always to say this is what we should do and why. But I think it's been a useful exercise to learn how instead to communicate in terms of these are the goal I want to achieve and why, and then give a bit of room for the product managers to decide the way that they want to achieve that. And that seems to be a better, more motivating way to function.
Brilliant. And finally, we talked to, or we've heard a lot about values today and how important they are. And you picked up a really important point about, how hard really it is to ingrain them. Just in terms of remembering them, but obviously also living them in their day-to-day roles or in staff's day-to-day roles. I just wondered if you could go through some of the techniques you mentioned for ingraining those values.
We, besides repeating it, which everyone kind of says, I think it's important to recognize that people learn and remember in different ways. And so repeating something verbally may work for some people, but visual also works. So we've done a good job, I think, of creating visual cues or representations of our strategy and of our vision that we then plaster around the office or develop kind of memorable, funny names for them so that they become almost mnemonic in nature, or become triggers for memories. And you still have to repeat it an awful lot, but at least you're leveraging the different ways that people learn and remember as a means of getting strategy and values ingrained within the company.
Great. Thanks for your time there.
My pleasure. Thank you.